Looking around Lamma Island for mature arabica coffee trees, learning about Hong Kong's wild coffee, helping other gardeners plant more, pro tips from a coffee farmer on how to maximize fruit yield, and what pests to be aware of. So grab your cup because we're tackling a lot right now on the Clumsy Gardener.
Anytime, come back. Welcome. No problem.
Oh,
Anytime.
thank you. You will never get rid of me.
Coffee is grown in many parts of the world, but predominantly in the area known as the Coffee Belt. That's the part of our planet that exists between the tropics of Cancer and Capricorn. Over the past few centuries, this stimulating beverage has spread globally from its roots in Ethiopia. Though Hong Kong sits snugly in the Coffee Belt, it never became a commercial crop here. Unlike places like Indonesia, where global trade introduced coffee in the 1600s. As such, our coffee culture in the 852 is relatively young compared to other places. But interest has grown in Hong Kong in this century, particularly in specialty coffee, with our many new coffee shops and growing list of award-winning baristas. We do have a wild coffee that grows here though, more on that later. So, a couple of weeks ago, we met my friend Stephen Ballantyne, who co-owns the Hinatin plantation in the city of Lipa in the Philippines. We talked about how to best care for coffee as houseplants. If you haven't already, do check that episode out. Today though, he's taking me on a tour of mature, fruiting coffee trees growing on Lamma Island.
Having trees like this in people's gardens, when I first came here was such a surprise, but also such a joy. I walk past here quite frequently just to see how it's getting on.
So you mentioned some of the fruits. Let me just come around. I just kind of want to get a bit of a look. Can you show me some of the cherries?
Yeah, so there's a very nice, look at that, beautiful.
Oh yeah.
So the red ones are right for picking. They're absolutely perfect. So I would pick those. There's different techniques for drying, as you know. We could leave and dry them in the husk there, or take the husk off. And it doesn't help that we have a mixture of seasons here in Hong Kong, and that's possibly why we don't have large coffee plantations here, because we have really cold days mixed with very hot days. The beans get a little bit confused. They want the heat to kind of bloom and to ripen, but also they need a more gradual pace. But I would definitely give this one a bit more nutrients.
And pruning, you were saying.
I think so. I think I'd cut it back a little bit.
So it's about, I'm guessing it's about, what is it, 2 meters tall?
Yeah,
Plus
easily.
at least 2.5 maybe potentially.
I wouldn't go much higher than this.
Yeah.
But this is a lovely tree. This is beautifully cared for. You know, the owner of this property has made sure this tree's had lots of water. It's in really lovely condition. You can see the quality, the gloss on the leaves, you know. There's a little bit of insect infection, but nothing too major.
Mainly, it looks like some insects have enjoyed the leaves a bit, including leaf miners. But it's nothing like the damage a coffee berry borer beetle can inflict. Endemic to Africa, the beetles have spread to all coffee-producing countries through contaminated seeds.
Which eats into the nice fresh cherries or even the ripening cherries. And once it gets into the cherry, it kind of eats from the inside out. And so that's a really big pest to watch out for. And of course, leaf rust has been the most devastating disease. It's wiped out countries of coffee over history, which is why the Philippines lost its coffee empire. It was literally wiped out. And we're now seeing leaf rust today in countries where it's never been seen before. And if it gets into these larger plantations, it could be devastating. It's actually airborne. And so it spreads very, very fast. And the only way to do it is cut it out and burn it out, without burning the whole tree.
Before we head out, we have a chat with Mr. Wong, the owner of the garden. Turns out, this tree is somewhere between 10 to 15 years old and was a volunteer, meaning it popped up on its own. Likely it got here thanks to bird droppings. He's roasted beans from this tree before and is interested in learning how to expand his yield. Stephen, of course, is pleased with this notion.
So to get the seed out, you just open it up.
Oh, open there. Put them for.
Yeah. There's one.
Yeah.
And there's your natural seed.
This is just to, they'll move it when it...
plants. I was really excited to discover that we actually have our own wild coffee. which is endemic to China actually.
Psychotria asiatica. In the same family as coffee, but a different genus. It grows wild in a similar fashion as coffee, as an understory tree or shrub, often found in villages or in feng shui woods. Its roots are used in traditional Chinese medicine, internally and externally, and its berries, apparently, are loved by birds.
We have a small sample of it here, which is quite pretty. This is a great time of year because it's just coming into fruit.
I've heard of some people that have tried the fruits themselves and get a buzz, but I'll pass since I can't find much information on it, and some psychotrias are known to be toxic. Before we head back for some afternoon coffee, we quickly swing by the Taipan Community Gardens that's run by members of the community to talk about the importance of cutting trees back to 3 main stems.
We've got olive trees and we've got mango and aubergine growing over here, but actually there's a lovely, lovely coffee tree. Again, I reckon this is about 6-7 years old, maybe a bit older. There seems to be a culture of people wanting to grow coffee. There's a very strong interest in where coffee comes from. What is lovely about this particular tree is actually you can see the 3 principal stems. So traditionally coffee trees, in order to get the nice round bush which actually helps with the harvesting and cropping, is to actually prune the trees. When you grow, you usually get just 1 stem from a tree, and then you actually cut it to actually encourage the growth out. But here you've got a very natural three stems. So I would cut this out, and I'd cut this out, and I'd cut this out, because this is actually fairly new growth. And you could actually replant that, not wasted at all.
Join us next week when we talk about the different varieties of coffee beans, how to best prepare them, and how their environment impacts the way they taste. Take care, everyone. Happy growing. See you next week.